Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. I know it was kind of difficult to get to the college this morning since all the roads were closed, but I appreciate you taking the time to be here with us today. So today we have a Board of Trustees workshop agenda. So I'm going to ask Mr. Delgado to do roll call. So I call the meeting to order.
Lupita Cepeda,
Present.
Jorge Delgado, present. Jackie Lemon Ramos, absent. Erica Benavides Garcia.
Here.
Cindy Liendo.
Present.
Mercurio Martinez Jr.
Present.
Esteban Rangel.
Present.
Karina Elizondo.
Present.
Tita Cantuvela.
Here.
You have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So the next item is public testimony. Do we have anybody? Okay, thank you. Next item we have is presentation of PMDG Marketing Communications Laredo College Comprehensive Marketing and Branding Research and Analysis Report. Dr. Minita Ramirez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, board members, for taking your time on a Saturday. I know these workshops sometimes conflict with your daily schedules and your weekend schedules, but I do think that it's important that we take some introspective looks at some of the work that we do. We do have a wonderful PR team, but I think the idea behind this, or my idea behind getting an external entity to do some research and analysis about what it is that we're doing and whether or not we're actually meeting our targets. Are we reaching out to the public in the domains and in the areas and in the way that they want to hear the information about the great things that are happening at Laredo College? This is definitely not something for us to say, well, anybody's doing anything wrong. No, the idea is, how do we take what we're doing and make it better? And getting information from people that came to school here, people that are in school here, people that work here, people in the community that really take value in the work that we're doing at Laredo College, and getting their opinions in blind focus groups, in surveys that were done without us doing it. Because I think it's different when we're in the room and we're the ones asking the questions. Well, people are going to tell us what we want to hear. The idea was, how do we get somebody independent to ask the questions that isn't affiliated with us to give us the responses, so that we can continue to engage and enhance with the enhance our communication with the community and create the messaging in their language. And so, so today we have with us the people from PMDG, A.B. Barrera and Paco Barrientos and Daniela. And Daniela, I'm sorry, I don't know your last name. Velos, who are going to present their findings that they did throughout the summer. They met with different groups over the summer. We gave them lists of names of students, directory information, and employees and former students and community members that we work with, and they were asked to come in for these focus groups and to do these surveys. And that's the data they're going to present to us today. At the end of the presentation, they're going to give each of you a full report to take home and review. And then we'll meet again during the next board meeting to discuss some of the information and then decide how we're going to move forward. Okay, and with that, Mr. Barrera and Mr. Barrientos and Ms. Velos will present their findings. By the way, thank you all for being here. All the team, all the PR team is here, and certainly our executives are all here, and Ms. Cardenas is here, so just to recognize that people are here. We are recording today's meeting. It will be up on YouTube by this afternoon.
Good morning. My name is A.B. Barrera, and I am the co-CEO and Director of Strategic Planning and Client Services for PMDG Marketing Communications. As Dr. Ramirez mentioned, with me is my business partner and co-CEO and Creative Director for the agency, Paco Barrientos, who will present here shortly, and also Daniela Veloz. Daniela is our Marketing and Account Coordinator. She also manages our social media component of the agency together with the rest of our team. So thank you for the opportunity to present this morning. We've been busy over the last several months, as Dr. Ramirez mentioned, particularly during the summer. And we did a series of different research projects, and a couple of things I want to mention. You know, our approach is based on qualitative research. Our agency recommendations, which we're going to tell you about at the end of our presentation, are not subjective in any way, and they really aren't based on opinions. They're based on our strategic recommendation, based on our experience in the discipline that we studied and the discipline that we utilize every day on behalf of our clients. Our goal really is to quantify the work based on the facts and results of our research projects. So the research conducted was really for an assessment of marketing and branding initiatives. And I want everybody to understand that because we didn't really focus on anything else other than the importance of marketing, branding, and public relations for the college. A needs assessment is what really began our research. We had prior research meetings with college administrators, including Dr. Ramirez, on numerous occasions. We discussed and reviewed prior research. We discussed the current state of the college, any challenges that existed within the marketing and communications component of what the college already does. We talked about existing goals, current and past marketing and public relations initiatives that were successful, and perhaps some that maybe were not that successful. We also met with department directors and some of the staff. And one of the first things that we did was a SWOT, which is a strategic planning session that really focuses on determining what the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of the organization are. And some of you may have participated in a SWOT analysis before, but this really is the first step in the branding process. It answers the first question, who we are. And if I was to ask all of you the question, well, who are we as a college, right? And you'll probably have a number of different answers. But, you know, we asked 12 to 15 members of the college's admin team, including VPs and department directors. All of these meetings were held at our agency, in our office. And it was about 3.5 hours of really intense conversation. We also participated in strategic planning meetings with LC administrators facilitated by Dr. Veronica Martinez because we knew that this was going to be correlated to the information they shared with us during our SWOT analysis. And then, of course, our focus group sessions, which Dr. Ramirez mentioned, we held 6 sessions with 6 to 8 participants per session. And, you know, really the standard when you're conducting a focus group, you want to do, you know, at least 3, maybe 4. We opted to do 6 to get as much information as possible. And the responses that you're going to see is not everything, obviously, that we were able to come up with, but we focused on the top responses and prioritized our findings based on recurring themes, recurring comments, and really responses that stood out. And you're going to notice that there's a lot of things that stood out. It was very interesting. It was great having the conversation with a lot of the students that joined us. And, you know, the interesting thing is that these students felt very comfortable to speak freely. I don't think anybody had ever asked them how they felt about their experience within the college, about their experience in all of the messages that are being delivered to them on a daily basis. You know, right now, information is at our fingertips. Every single morning, you know, we pick up our mobile devices and we're looking at news and we're reading our social media channels and we want to know what's going on, right? And I wish they would have told us about the parade, but I learned that a little later than I should have. But it was very nice to hear from the students and how they felt. They felt comfortable, and they were happy to share, you know, all of this information with us. So with that, I'll go ahead and get started. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to go over our SWOT analysis. We'll tell you about our research. Daniela will come up and talk to you about our findings. And then finally, we will give you some agency recommendations on what our next steps really are. So the first thing we did in terms of our SWOT analysis was we had to determine what our target market is, right? And this should be very simple. Everybody knows who we're targeting. But obviously, yes.
Excuse me, AB.
I'd like to recognize Jackie Ramos has just joined us. Thank you.
And just for the record, the meetings they had with employees, I was not a part of any meeting. This had nothing to do with my participation at all. So I just wanted to make sure you all know that.
And I think it's interesting that you mentioned that. It's important, too, because I will tell you that the staff also felt very comfortable to speak freely, to be open, and give us their true and honest opinions and comments during those meetings. So initially, we determined what our target market is. Our primary market, obviously, is Laredo, Texas. Secondary market includes surrounding communities in Webb County, Jim Hogg County, and Zapata County. And then our tertiary market includes our border region and Mexican nationals. When I talked to you about recurring themes and things that really stood out, that was one of the things that they communicated to us during all our meetings, is that there is a significant amount of people that are coming from Nuevo Laredo. And you're going to learn in our findings how some of those students don't really feel that they're being strategically or adequately communicated to. And we'll talk about that as we move forward. In terms of our audience, and this is the biggest challenge, higher education marketing is becoming more and more challenging just across the nation. With all different types of programs in place now, when it comes to a community college, really our target audience is all types of students. We're talking about dual enrollment students, incoming freshmen, and then of course our secondary audiences, right? Because we also have adult learners, non-English speakers, part-time students. One that's very important is prospective employers. As a community college, they really are looking to Laredo College to say, who can I place in that seat? And I think time and time again, if we're part of this community, we talk to our colleagues all the time about how difficult it is to find effective employees that are, ready to work and are willing to work and that are, most importantly, effectively trained, right? We're also targeting parents of students, alumni, and transfer students. So this is what we determined were, together with our participants of our SWOT analysis, our target markets and target audiences. Then we asked the question, who we are, who is Laredo College? And again, these are kind of our top items that stood out. It's a college for everyone. It's a historical destination. That's one thing you're going to see as a recurring theme from everyone that we spoke to in the community, the students, the employees, that there isn't enough emphasis on the fact that we are part of Laredo's history. This is a historical destination and we should promote that. Family-oriented and very community engaged. The community is part of Laredo College, and they like that. They want more community engagement, more community involvement. It's a bridge to a better future. It's very learner-centered, and it is a forward-thinking institution. Well, then we asked, perception. What do people think? What's the public perception of Laredo College? And again, recurring theme, you're going to see this over and over again, but number one is affordable education. Affordability was huge for everybody that we spoke to. It's a smart choice for low-cost, quality education. It's a quick start to a career. It's a growing and developing institution. And one of the things they did mention on a negative perception was that it is an outdated campus, at least the Fort McIntosh campus. They would like to see it more modernized. And then here is what we want them to think, right? So we want to pivot the public focus, and we want them to know and to think that Laredo College is value. LC is a pathway to opportunity. Students can finish at their own pace. At the end of the day, their degree and certification really matters. And school spirit and student life is present. And for those students that are seeking that university or college experience that maybe can't afford to leave Laredo, we definitely want to emphasize that we've got that school spirit and that student life very present here at Laredo College at both campuses. And the reason I emphasize on that last bullet there is because you're going to see through our findings where they mention school spirit and student life quite a bit. So now here comes the validity, right? Why should they even believe it? Is it the truth? It absolutely is. We have dedicated and innovative faculty and staff. We have accredited and recognized programs, an increased number of graduates. In addition to that, the college is very invested in community and its students. So then we get into the SWOT part of our SWOT, right? And we talked about strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And typically when we conduct a SWOT analysis, we have a really good number of strengths, a lot of opportunities, not too many weaknesses, and very few threats. Threats are really things we really can't improve or do anything about. They're always going to exist. And weaknesses we can improve. So let's talk about strengths. Number one is, again, recurring theme here, affordability, right? That's the number one reason that students are choosing Laredo College. Stackable credits, stackable credentials. Unique programs like our renowned nursing program and cohesive law enforcement academy. Personalized education. High performance outcomes was another strength. And then we talked about dedicated employees. They're very service-oriented, they're accessible to the students. And so these are the strengths that, again, just kind of the ones that stood out from our report. As Dr. Ramirez mentioned, we'll give you the entire breakdown, the entire report that you can read on your own time. In terms of weaknesses, number one, and this was pretty high, was the lack of timely internal communication. Sometimes we see that as a challenge, right? And so that came up. Marketing strategy upgrades, that they feel that there should be more strategic direction when it comes to marketing, and that can be improved and upgraded. They're not saying that it's bad. They're saying that it can be improved and upgraded. And then marketing communications. One thing that came up was the lack of unified messaging and the lack of promotion of specific college offerings. We see a lot of institutional marketing messages that talk about the college overall in terms of enrollment and join us, but there's so many specific offerings for so many different audiences. Remember at the beginning I told you we have to be for all. You know, we have to target all audiences because we have so many different audiences, right? Let's think about those adult learners, right? And the ones that are looking for a certificate, the ones that just want to be here for 2 years and get in and get out. They want to go to work. And so those were some of the weaknesses that were offered. And then campus upgrades. You know, we talked about that just a few moments ago. That's another weakness that was identified. In terms of opportunities, they are very happy with, you know, new administration. They see partnerships being built. They see a lot of future programs and post-graduation prospects. They like the fact that the administration is embracing new ideas. There seems to be a fresh direction, and the students and the staff are recognizing that. They like the fact that they continue to honor legacy while still pushing innovation. And then, you know, self-reflection is something that's very important. As we dig deeper into the findings, you're going to notice that mental health comes up as a topic with a lot of these students. And we talk a lot about what's called the third space. And the students mentioned this over and over again. And, you know, sometimes you don't realize this, specifically if you're not in their shoes. And I like the fact that Dr. Ramirez highly recommended that we took the students outside of the institution so that they could speak as freely as possible. And they all talked about self-reflection, how even this process allowed them to self-reflect. And, you know, they talked about the affordability. They said, had it not been for all of these programs, had it not been for the affordability, we would have never, you know, gone to college. We never thought of it because in many cases, they were the first student in their family that had actually gone on to college. So self-reflection is something we'll talk about as we move forward. Obviously, the threats include other South Texas colleges and external CDL programs. You know, there's plenty of those. They keep popping up. And then also challenges in the proximity to the campuses. And again, this was during our SWOT analysis. You'll see that that comment changes a little bit when we talk directly to the students. But that was one of the things that they talked about, was that there was some challenges in the proximity, not only to this campus, to both. You know, obviously the South Campus sometimes with traffic, and then this campus because it's, you know, somewhere downtown. But again, when you look at the findings from the students, that changed a little bit. Okay, so let's talk now about the focus group and our focus group research. So we'll talk first about the instruments that we utilized. We first used a multiple choice questionnaire, which we let the participants fill out on their own. And then there was open discussion. Again, these sessions lasted about 2 to 2.5 hours per session. They were led by a moderator, and really all focus group sessions assessed, number one, name recognition, brand perception, brand identity, and the overall general perception of Laredo College. You know, aesthetically, you know, how does the campus look and feel to you? You know, there's something called a visual audit that a lot of organizations utilize, where they'll send in a group of experts and they look at the aesthetics, the environmental design of the building and the space that they're looking at, right? Is the landscaping the right way? Is there wayfinding signage? Does it look bright? You know, based on who your target is. And so those were some of the questions that we asked. So the participants were full-time students at Laredo College. Some were recent graduates from Laredo College, and some were students from other colleges that were originally from Laredo and home for the summer that had never stepped foot in Laredo College. We talked to dual enrollment alumni and then summer or winter transfer students as well. So the first part of the section was obviously our multiple choice questionnaire. and that focused on LC's communication and messaging. Also, Laredo College's branding and graphics. We talked about social media and radio advertising and promotions, and we focused on those two because we looked at what was currently being implemented in terms of your advertising plan, right? And we did see radio there. Radio is a very traditional medium, and that made us kind of think twice as to why we're focusing so much on radio, right? We wanted to learn why, so we included a question there to find out if radio was even impactful for these students, right? Insights on Laredo College, and then finally, school spirit and mascot pride. So in our open discussion session of our focus groups, number one, we really wanted to understand students' experiences with branding at Laredo College. You know, I talked about the first time you step in to a building or a campus, what do you see? What do you feel? What do you experience? You know, are you really excited about walking onto campus, right? We've all, you know, gotten that feeling when we go to different places, right? Even when you walk into other community colleges or universities, right? There's a sense of pride. Do they see and feel that sense of pride? We had questions focusing on the general perception of Laredo College, and then again, understanding what factors students believe would help them have a better overall student experience. And then finally, we got into our findings, and this is gonna get really interesting, so I'll let Daniela Veloz come up, and that way she can guide you through our findings. Daniela.
Hi, good morning. Once again, my name is Daniela Veloz, and I'm the Marketing and Account Coordinator for PMDG Marketing Communications. So I just want to reiterate before we start going into our focus group findings that once again, this was in no way opinionated by us, by any administration. This was all done by our participants that participated in our focus groups. So if you see something that, oh, I don't like what they said, I don't like what they said, don't get mad at us. I didn't write, like, and I will not give you the names of the ones who said it either. They were all anonymous, so I will not be outing anybody here. And so the first topic we're gonna be talking about was insights on Laredo College. The overall consensus was that, and it wasn't surprising to us, that obviously involved students were more aware of and active in spreading school spirit compared to the average student and non-Laredo College students. Our involved students included student workers, student government, people involved in our student organizations. They were more aware of that school spirit that is present. They also asked for more creativity and use of Laredo College colors, logos, and taglines. They were really proud of the colors that you all have here in this college. They were proud of the Palomino. They just want to see it used more creatively, maybe use it to spruce up a little merchandise. I know that there was one focus group they talked about wanting to differentiate themselves from Nixon because they kept getting confused with that same merchandise. So they want to see a lot more creativity in the use of these. Likewise, they also emphasized a lack of engagement, attention, and on-campus retention at the South Campus. So a lot of our participants were nursing students that found that they weren't really being spoken to, or maybe it was too bland, there wasn't enough colors, there wasn't a lot of really reason for them to stay at the South Campus other than just staying for a class. Likewise, there was also an increase in e-sport engagement and promotion. They called for an increase in esports. They were aware of and very proud of what they had accomplished, and they just want to see more involvement in it. When we get down to the numbers, on the top you see, on a scale of 1 to 5, we asked, how much school spirit do you believe lives on campus? 23.5% reported that school spirit on campus was good, but not great. So there's definitely room for improvement in that aspect. However, 70% reported poor to minimal school spirit. And you'll see that from when you see the report, you see that mostly our average students or non-LC students were the ones that reported that there wasn't a lot of poor school spirits. Likewise, we also asked, if applicable, why did you choose to attend or work at Laredo College? And as you see, the top 2 responses were location and costs. Yes, academic reputation and programs, but really the top emphasis was location and costs. Likewise, there was also highlighting that there was a lack of mascot engagement. They're very proud of the Palomino. They just want to see him, dancing on social media or going around campus and being amongst the students. So when we get down to branding and graphics, and I don't know if Paco, you want to kind of explain a little bit about what branding and graphics is so that they can understand a little more?
Sure. Hi, my name is Paco Barrientos, one of the principals. So branding and graphics on this one, that we discovered that they were saying all sorts of things. It's like, you know, when you talk to students and when they're freely and openly talking about it with anybody behind them, I mean, like you said, Dr. Ramirez, they really start spewing words out. A lot of them were talking about signages, graphics. They want to see, not that there doesn't exist, it's just that they want visuals that target their audience, their age group. They want to look cool. They want to look hip. They want to be more trendy. Because why? Because it's their school. So a lot of these things, like for example, directional signage. You know, especially during registration commencement, they would get lost. Their parents would say, "I don't know where buildings are. I don't know where we're going." But then again, directional signage don't mean just an arrow. That means that we can have signs with life. You know, they could be nice. You know, the eye candy, heading to campus and arrival. This was very interesting because they really saw how, when we arrive to campus, how do we arrive to a sense of pride? I mean, is there like the big David statue, you know, in the front? I mean, what represents Laredo College when they arrive? They want to have an icon that represents them. And then, of course, the other one that they were very, very adamant was the South Campus. You know, some of them didn't attend South Campus, but they were like, we feel like South Campus is very beige, very bland, and we don't see a lot of creativity. It's just more like an institute. And so, yes, you go to class, but you don't come out with the spirit of the college. Obviously, should Laredo College increase the use of branding and graphics on campus? Again, graphics doesn't mean just ads and logos and fonts. It means life. You know, it's eye candy. It's like when you go to a park. You know, when you go to Six Flags, you see color, you see shapes. It's very attractive. So that's what they're looking for. And you know, and you see the chart. 52.9% said that they would definitely like it. 29.4% said probably. So that's almost a total of 82% called for an increase in branding and graphics on campus. I mean, it's like going to a game. You know, when you go to the Cowboys game, you see the star all over. So when you leave the game, you leave really excited. Even if you win or you don't, you come out excited because you had an experience. And that's exactly what they were talking about.
Thank you, Paco. And I also just wanted to mention that in the lack of creativity, recycled copy and models. When we talk about copy, we say, like I saw a billboard right now that said, "Un banco sin fronteras." That would be an example of copywriting, the words that are being put out into advertising. They're seeing a lot of the same words being used, and they called that recycled copy. So they wanted to see a lot more innovative and creative way, and especially the models being the students that come out in the pictures, that they're like, oh yeah, like I remember that student, they graduated 10 years ago, and they want to see someone that represents them today. They want to be able to relate themselves and see themselves, not just the student workers, not just those involved in student government, but your average day-to-day student. So now we get to the digital marketing findings. So digital marketing, we hear that and we think social media, but that also includes anything that we see on our website, anything we see on email. So anything that you can find online, that would be under digital marketing. But as you can see, the emphasis was really placed on social media. That's what they brought up mostly. They called for an increase in effective and engaging social media use to highlight student life, to promote registration, and most especially to promote resources. They called for individual department social media accounts. There's a lot of resources and opportunities happening here on campus, and they would like for each department to have their own social media accounts. That way that each of them have a chance to promote whatever they have on a day-to-day basis, and not have to compete for kind of the Laredo College main account for who gets to promote first and things like that. They also asked for, again, an increased use of the Palomino, again, having him like do some sort of interactive, going around campus, seeing him do little dances, and they really want to see that increase of him on the social media. And lastly, social media content trends. They really want to see more authenticity. I know Dr. Ramirez was telling us they want to see that reality show. Yes, they want to see authentic, non-promotional content, not necessarily promoting. We have this going on, but maybe, hey, meet Fernanda, who studies music, and she comes from this background. They want to see a lot more of that. As you can see, we asked, should Laredo College increase its social media usage? In the report, we broke down a lot more of these, but we just wanted to see if they particularly wanted to see a certain program or a certain resource that they want to see promoted more with social media. But as you can see, registration, student life, internal and external messaging, they all said that Laredo College should increase its social media to continue promoting those aspects.
Excuse me, Daniela, and
Yes.
this question had a blank, so they had to write, they could write in what was the topic they wanted to see more in social media. And so I think these were the three top
Yes.
that they wrote in, so.
Yes, definitely. We also saw that only 58% saw frequent social media promotion. Out of everybody, a little bit over half saw that there was a frequent social media promotion, and highlighting that there was a lack of YouTube advertisement. A lot of them spend, time looking at YouTube videos and not just going into the Laredo College page, but also surprised that we live in Laredo and they don't see, like in the advertisements before they're waiting to watch a video, that they see a Laredo College, but they'll see a Tammy U one. I know that they expressed that to us, but yes, so they were talking about the lack of that. When we get to marketing strategy, one of the overall consensus was that they want to see a more diverse use of marketing and promotion mediums. Prints being your flyers, being your posters, out of home, anything that is not in your initial eyesight right here. So it'll be like anything outside, like billboards or something on a bus or a poster at the mall, and online advertising. And you would think like, we already have billboards. We already have advertisement being placed on our buses. Well, they want to see a lot more of that. Or more than that, they want to see something that's very memorable. I know that there was some focus groups that said, I do see the billboard, but I can't remember what it said. Or I can't remember who was on that billboard. So they were saying like that they wanted to be more memorable. And they also talked about that their strongest influence currently was word of mouth. Everything that they had heard of in terms of applying for scholarships for different organizations or different opportunities was all because their parents told them, or their friend told them, or their teachers told them. Likewise, they also talked about what they want to be promoted, what content is being put out there. And they found that certain programs, resources, and opportunities have not been adequately highlighted. You'll see a lot right now. I'm going to mention somebody from the honors program that was really, really passionate about being a part of it. And he was saying, like, I only found this out because I heard it from a friend. And I would like to be more represented. So that was something that they were saying, that they were part of different programs. They're just not being promoted correctly. Likewise, one of the biggest topics of conversation was the inclusivity of older demographics. And this was really surprising because it was coming from our younger participants. They were the ones saying that I sit next to someone 30, 40-year-old next to me, and they're not put off by it. They were actually very proud of finding that somebody wants to finish their education, get their certification, and they just don't see it being promoted on their posters, on social media, and they want to be able to have that and be able to promote that to other older demographics and be like, hey, you can come to Laredo College and get your certification and finish your education. Likewise, they also found that there should be more bilingual copywriting. Yes, as I was saying, a lot of the parents are the ones that are telling them, apply for this, apply for that. There was even people, Mexican nationals, that were saying they had to translate it for their parents. So if they were like, if we want to reach more people, we should find a way to kind of the words that we're already saying, change them into Spanish. Then we asked, how do you perceive the current Laredo College marketing and messaging, conservative or innovative? And when we mean conservative or innovative, conservative we mean very traditional. Here's a radio advertisement, here's a flyer, here's a poster. Innovative, we were saying that it's more of like, okay, well, how can we put this on social media? How can we have some sort of engagement happening on campus where people can actually see it and be a little bit more experimental with our marketing? And as you can see, 52% believe that Laredo College marketing strategies and messaging have been both. So they were saying, you know, there's a good mix of both. However, 30% saw that Laredo College strategies were conservative or very conservative. So there's a little to no percentage that said that the current marketing and messaging was either innovative or very innovative. And then we just asked a general question, should Laredo College adopt a more innovative marketing approach? And as you can see, a really, really big percentage, 94% believe that Laredo College should adopt a more innovative marketing approach. And the little purple, sometimes you'll see it pop up and say can't say. There was some students that couldn't really answer to that because they are not very involved in Laredo College. So just in case you were wondering what that purple is right there. And lastly, we get to messaging and communication. The overall consensus was they feel that there's a need to increase uplifting and inclusive messaging. I'm going to read a little bit off of the report because I thought it was very important to mention this. Students want to hear messaging that encourages and uplifts them as they are. Many of them recognize their struggles, situations, circumstances, and want to be reminded that the college supports them through their education, no matter their background. They want to hear messaging coming from people like them and individuals in different circumstances, such as single moms and older demographics. I know that AB spoke about the third space, and they want to be able to address mental health, manage student stress, because a lot of them felt that Laredo College is their home. It's somewhere where they can feel safe and they can feel supportive, and they want to hear that more in the messaging. Like, as I said, Laredo College supports its students. They want to hear more about that. They want to see a lot more communication internally. They want to hear more about on-campus resources and have more guides, more frequently asked questions, kind of guiding them through, okay, how can I apply for this scholarship? How can I apply for a financial aid? How can I apply for graduation? And they would just want to hear a lot more, step-to-steps process efficiency. Likewise, they also want to hear more messaging that connects Laredo College to the community, especially the historic downtown. A lot of them come here and they have never been downtown. And so not only does it help, not only do they feel like it'll help the prosperity of downtown, but it'll also help them connect to Laredo College and be like, hey, we're a part of this historic part of Laredo. Likewise, they also spoke about the proximity location. And I know that earlier we had talked about that was a threat. That people saw that it was too far and I don't want to go to the college. But actually, we had a participant that said it's the same distance from North Laredo to Tamiu. So for them, it wasn't really a problem. So they were saying, like, it would be a good idea to promote that, to say that, it's only 10 minutes away, or it's just the same as whatever. Likewise, I want to highlight something that's on the very top there, that it was verbatim. One student spoke it. Please don't get mad. Laredo College has a lot to offer. It just doesn't communicate it well. And I go back to that student that spoke on the honors program. He was really, really adamant about the increased promotion of resources and scholarship opportunities. Super proud of being in the honors program. And that really just opened up a floodgate, like Pandora's box. And everyone started saying, like, yeah. We don't see a lot of increase in this. And so they really called for that messaging to be able to be a lot more diverse in promoting the resources and opportunities. And now we're going to get to the agency recommendations. Just before we get to that, I just wanted to reiterate, if you want to see a lot more of the numbers, a lot more of what they said, there were just some highlights. There's a lot more that they said. You can find that in the report that we're going to give you at the end.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniela. One of the things I want to talk about just briefly is Daniela talked about the older demographic, right, and the inclusivity, and that's something that I'm going to talk about in terms of our recommendations. But when we really sat down and had a heart-to-heart with some of these participants, they said that a lot of these older demographics have become their friends. They've become mentors. They mentor one another. A lot of these younger students were coming from single-family households where maybe they didn't have a father figure or a mother figure, and this student became their mother figure or their father figure. Very interesting. And also when it comes to the third space, they talked about the fact that they come from low-income families with large families, lots of siblings. So there's not a lot of space for them to really concentrate, to study, to digress. And they really feel that, when they come to Laredo College, this is their third space. They want to see more areas where they can sit down, be by themselves, be quiet, be able to just kind of, forget about the world for a little bit. And it's interesting because when we had conversations with some of the staff members and with Dr. Ramirez, some of these kids get here in the morning, and even when they're done with class, they stay here. So they're here for 8 or 9 hours a day. And, they want more opportunities to feel like this is their third space or that third home. So I just definitely wanted to mention that because I thought it was very interesting. So as we get into agency recommendations, we talked a lot about branding, but in 2 sentences here, I just want to tell you exactly what branding is. Branding is a process involved in creating a unique image for a product or a service. It is then tied in with strategic advertising campaigns following a consistent theme. And consistency really is key in everything and anything that we do moving forward in regards to marketing and branding. And then we have creativity. Paco's going to talk a lot about the creative direction of where we feel we need to go. But creativity can be defined as the ability to generate new ideas, concepts, or solutions that are original, valuable, and this is my favorite, surprising. When we talked about that we're already doing some out of home, we've got outdoor billboard advertising, we've got bus advertising, we see it every day because it comes by us every day. We have so many messages being delivered to us at once on our mobile devices, on the radio, if we have Sirius and we're listening to streaming radio, messages are always coming in. But are we creating creative messages that are going to surprise our target audience? So it's important to keep that in mind as we move forward. And of course, I go back to the first thing we did. The first step. Step 1 was our discovery session, which was our SWOT. Research always starts with a discovery session. It's a needs analysis, and it starts with a series of sessions where we learn about the organization's goals. The objectives are based on the outcomes of these sessions. So what we're recommending is based on everything that we've done. We also discover the audience's needs, their wants, but most importantly, their desires. Right? It's about their dreams. How are we going to make their dreams come true at the end of the day? And so when we get into goal setting, specifically for marketing, we use the acronym SMART. They should always be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and most importantly, they should be timely. And then as we're developing these campaigns, we always look to the 3 R's. Are we reaching the right person? Is it the right message? And is it even the right time? A lot of time we spend our advertising dollars when it's the wrong time. Is it in the middle of the student completely focused on something else than attending college, right? So these are the 3 keys here, the 3 R's that are extremely important to keep in mind. And then, of course, the 4 keys to branding. I talked about consistency, right? It's consistency, it's reach, the frequency. Do we have the adequate frequency in terms of our advertising plan? And this one is my favorite. It's the story. What story are we telling, right? You've got to have compelling creative, something that's going to surprise, something that's going to strike my emotions. Right now, everybody's talking about AI. Oh, I can do that on AI, and I can design this on Canva. Let's keep in mind that AI is a robot. AI has no emotion. They can't think or feel. They can't cry. They can't feel that emotion, whereas in a creative campaign that's not being designed by robots, we can develop that compelling creative and we can help tell the story that they shared with us. And so we're going to get into now the marketing strategy recommendations. And there's 4 kind of key areas here in terms of what we're recommending. The number 1 is to strengthen messaging and communications. We need to improve our brand awareness. We have brand awareness because our focus group participants told us. We see the message, we just don't think it's innovative. We need to improve it. We want to develop compelling creative. We want to create transparent and empathy-driven messaging. You know, we need to be empathetic with what these students are feeling, right? What they're going through. And most importantly, address inclusive representation in advertising, DE&I, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And this doesn't mean that we're just talking about somebody's race, right? We're talking about people with disabilities. When was the last time that we saw somebody in a wheelchair in one of our ads? When was the last time that we showed somebody, you know, using a walker to get to class, right? Because maybe they had been in an accident in one of our, you know, TV spots. So they want to see more of that, and that's our big recommendation. We need to learn to be inclusive. Students don't all come in one shape and size carrying a backpack with an LC t-shirt, right? They come in all shapes and sizes. And so they want more of that inclusivity. We also want to improve internal communications. We feel that it's important that all of the departments work cohesively with one another so that they can be more successful. In terms of community and event promotion, tie LC to historic downtown. We heard this over and over again. They want more timely promotion of events, and so our recommendation is that we create a schedule, a calendar, right, that's put out maybe 30 days ahead of time. One of the things we heard from the students, which will be in the report that we give you, was that many times they don't find out about an event that's going on until the event's already happening. If there's a lemonade stand, they said, you know, I don't have money as it is, and I didn't bring any extra cash, I can't participate in that lemonade promotion, right? Had I known 2 days ago, I could have planned accordingly, right? And so timely promotion of events is important, and then also promote the use of campus facilities. We learned, not only from the students, but from the folks that were part of our SWOT analysis, that they've seen the campus being highlighted more throughout the community, with the business community, with nonprofit organizations, you know, hosting events here. There's people that may have never been to the campus, so that gives them an opportunity, and we definitely feel that we need to promote that even more. So I'm gonna let Paco now come up, and he's gonna talk about the other two recommendations.
Before I start with campus vibrancy and student life, I do want to stress out our recommendation and you know, my colleagues, creative and marketing team that's behind us. It's also very important that it's a two-party system. You know, it's the person that requests and then the person that's gonna do the work. When the department or the person is requesting 5 days before the event and the team that's gonna design it, I mean, you're limiting yourself. So that's one of the things that we discovered too, that there needs to be a lot more communication between departments and the internal marketing people, because then you put them in a corner where they're gonna fail. And not that they're failing right now, not that no one's producing anything, but you do need time to come up with ideas, with strategies. You wanna come back and do a draft and write it and cancel it and rewrite it and do a different picture. But when we're reacting, then we use whatever we have in front of us. And that's where it becomes recycled copy and recycled photographs. Because at the end of the day, we need to hurry up. They need it. And then you get pressure from everybody, and it just keeps on going down. So again, you know, it goes for us too. As an agency in the private sector, you know, we try to train our client to say, if you bring me something in 2 days, expect to fail, because by the time you promote it, by the time you create it, it's a lemonade stand. Like, oh, I didn't bring money, I just ended up finding out. So that's really important to know. But campus vibrancy and student life, improve internal branding. And what that means, again, is what I just talked about, signage. But internal branding too means about signage on buildings. You know, when you walk, and right now through these 3 windows, I see brown brick. You know, it's like, are there any installations that stimulate this, that will stimulate your eye, that you want to walk through it? Is it a sculpture? Is it graphics? Again, imagine going to a sports venue. You know, you go to the Cowboys, you go to the Astros, and everything's on your face. Obviously, they have $1 million budgets, right? But you can get creative with it with smaller budgets. So that's really important. You know, adding color and vibrancy to campuses. And that takes planning. That takes planning of what we're gonna do. You know, is it gonna happen this semester or next semester? So that's important. Revitalizing college branded merchandise. Again, you know, Laredo College, in one word, a green shirt and a yellow print, it just becomes a shirt. Why don't we come up with something else? You know, the events, come up with taglines, fun taglines of social media. You remember, T-shirts are billboards. The more students wear it, the more of an image you're going to get out there. So that's one of our biggest. Well, that's what the students are asking, but that's a very good thing. Diversify and improve marketing materials. Improve print marketing collateral. Again, not that you're not doing marketing collateral, not that you're not printing, you are printing. But then again, is it turning to be vanilla? I mean, are we still using the same font? Are we still using the same layout? Are we using the same star, the same shapes? So it's just become a little bit innovative. With becoming a little bit more innovative, you need more time to think innovative, to have a team discussion with a department that needs it. If the department needs it by September and you come to me August 31st, it's gonna happen, we're gonna put the regular font, the regular layout, because we need to get it out. So it's timely. We talked about timely. Develop strategic and innovative marketing tools geared at specific audiences. So we can't just create one big brochure. We can, it could be very generalized, but we have so many different markets. We have the 18-year-old to 22-year-old, then we have the 30-year-old to 40-year-old, and then we have continuing ed, and then we have, a male that's 35 that thinks very different than a female, and they want to cosmetology against welding. So those are the things that we need to start creating compartments. And the internal team needs to start working with that energy, with those gears. So that's very, very important that we are aware of that. What I'm going to talk about here is branding, messaging, and graphics recommendation. It's all about visual communication. It's perception. The more perception we put out there, the more of reality it becomes. If we don't put anything out there, we let everyone tell our story. Again, if we don't put anything out there really creative, they're just going to say, well, it's just a T-shirt that says Laredo College. Creative concept development. That is so important. That's one of our number one recommendation. As a creative director for agency, my role is to really figure out, is your brand working? Are your colors vibrant? Are you using correct fonts? But at the end of the day, is the message compelling? Is it really making people turn and relate? Are we creating an emotion? Can we put something on a billboard and put like enroll now? Yes. But did it create an emotion? No. Might as well utilize that space. Get creative. But it's not just about one billboard. It's about creating a concept for a whole year, 2 years, 3 years, and be consistent. It's strategic, creative concept. That's a key. If you don't have a good, strong concept, it's almost kind of like a jellyfish, no backbone. It's just gonna swim, it's just gonna be there. But you have to create a concept, a creative concept that you can follow through and keep it going for one semester, for the departments, for any department. It's almost kind of creating a shoe, a one-size shoe that everyone can wear. You know how impossible that is? I mean,
A croc.
yeah,
A croc.
get a croc, and that's a creative concept that somebody developed. A croc fits everybody's shoe, right? Target to specific target audiences. Again, I know we do that with enrollment, but a lot of these students didn't see that. Maybe that's not their audience, that's not their brochure that they're going to receive, but we need to be a little bit more sensitive to the audience. How are we talking to them? And again, I say this, are we giving enough time to do that? Are we reacting to the deadline? When you react to the deadline, it's going to become vanilla. Develop empathy-driven messages. Again, emotion. We do need to have a lot of emotion. Because just the simple fact that we're a historic campus, there's a lot of stories that we can tell. And not only that, but alumni. Just simple alumni that can come and say a testimonial of how they benefited. So those are recommendations. How do you do it? Well, you need creative sessions and a lot of communication between marketing folks and the people that need those tools. Actually, I'm going to talk about visual assets. Implement bi-weekly creative brief meetings. Remember that our job, even my job, when you create a logo, you have 2 seconds to make an impact. If it doesn't explain itself in 2 seconds, it's not good. But it doesn't happen. to the naked eye, it's like you do a logo of a circle and a dot in the middle. It's like, it was a circle with a dot. How easy can that be? It was created in 1 second. No, it wasn't created in 1 second. If you're gonna make an impact, it's gonna take so much information to really compress it and make it work in 2 seconds. So creative briefs are very, very important. Communication between marketing and between the departments, you know, because, and marketing should also force creative briefs with the departments, because you need information. It's not just about, I need a flyer, here are my notes on pencil and red pen and figure it out. We do need to have that creative brief. Develop consistent graphic campaign elements. And what I mean about that is, if you stick to a certain shape, a certain font, a certain style, a certain effect, keep on being consistent. You cannot be changing it and changing it and changing it, because then it starts looking like different buildings, different institutions, then it just becomes, again, just vanilla. You know, it doesn't stand out. But consistency is really important. Develop creative storyboards. And what I mean about creative storyboards is, how are we gonna roll out the campaign that we're gonna do for the semester? And you do have to create storyboards. You know, sometimes it can be a pain, because it's almost kind of writing a report, but it's all visuals. And how we're gonna do a storyboard is the way we're gonna roll out the program. You have to have a strategy how to roll it out. You can't be reacting. Implement creative photos and video shoots. That's the same thing as creative. When I talk about implement creative photo and video shoots, means that let's not just grab a camera and take it and shoot somebody with a backpack because they were walking. Let's start planning what is the end result of these photo shoots. Like, do we want people to be jumping, swimming? This is a specific photograph for marketing purposes. Again, a photograph of somebody walking or they're jumping in the air. Oh, it took 1 second to take that photo. I mean, you just press a button and it happened. It did not happen like that. You have to stage it. So that's what I mean about implementing creative photos and video shoots. If we're gonna do a video shoot, it has to go back to the creative concept, the development that you're gonna be doing. And that takes time. It takes planning. You know, you can't just expect to go to the welding shop and you're gonna see these you know, supermodel guys with the muscles out and just welding. It's not gonna happen. You have to stage it. You know.
Yes, they are, yes, you are. They're gorgeous
Well,
students.
I'm sure they are, but you do have to stage it. The same thing with cosmetology. I mean, you have to stage these things, and you have to invest time on this. The use of external messaging. That was also very important. That's an opportunity that we see that can happen. Once you develop this concept, you know, the use of external messaging, for example, Washington Street. On the way down here, I mean, there was a parade today. And so there was an influx of people coming downtown.
Nobody knew.
Nobody knew. Or nobody knows that if you keep on going straight, you're gonna hit LC. So Washington Street, there's a great opportunity, you know, to brand all the way to the I-35, mile marker 1. This is our territory. It's historic. We're part of, remember downtown and I get very involved in downtown. I'm very passionate about downtown, but there's districts. There's a San Agustin Historical District. There's the area on where the outlets are. There's LC, there's St. Peter's. So all these 5 components create one downtown. But we cannot, we should take advantage of being part of that energy, not just standing up on our own. I just talked about downtown Laredo. The other thing is build strong partnerships with nonprofits and the city and the county. Can we utilize the poles? Can we borrow them? Can we put something up there? Yes. You know, it's just, and we all have those relationships. I mean, improving campus branding, develop consistent signage and graphics. We talked about that. Again, it's signs like, again, I see brown bricks. Can we put murals on the walls? Can we do inside, outside? Can we do floor graphics when you come in? And all those materials exist. You know, they can be done. They just need to be strategic. Tie into campaign. All these graphics, I mean, if there's a campaign being designed, tie it in through the entire campus. It doesn't have to be 100%, but you have to tie it in. So that way when you see a billboard on Del Mar, and you see another billboard on I-35, and then you walk in and you see a floor graphic, you start getting that repetition. It's consistency. So that becomes, perception becomes reality. Wall graphics, floor graphics, installations. And what I mean about installations is, like in the middle of the quad, I mean, is there like a big arch that is green with a mascot and people can walk through it, take pictures? Let the students take advantage of the art on the campus so they can take pictures and be proud of it. Like take a picture next to this thing and all of a sudden you just did yourself advertising marketing because you created this sculpture. So it becomes an identity icon, it becomes a symbol of, and it doesn't have to, and again, it doesn't have to be gold statues, it doesn't have to be all these very expensive things. It could be temporary things that can last you a year, 2 years. You take them down and you get it again and update the pictures, update the graphics. So those are recommendations, but I really would like to, like I said, I'll repeat myself. We as creative people are as good as our client is. You know, if our client has an open mind, gives us enough time, then we can come up with good things. And again, I'm talking to my colleagues over here, marketing and creative people, that I'm sure they're biting their nails, but also they're backed up with things that they need to do for, what, 1,000 departments, you know, every single day. So sometimes, you know, talking to them in advance and planning your events in advance really helps them to get organized. And a lot of this, the things that we're talking about, we talk about graphics and branding and lack of this, lack of that. And we're not bashing the marketing department. It's just that sometimes it might be too small, or they don't have enough resources, or whatever it might be. And I think that's why we're here, just to come up from the outside to give you our perspective on what's going on with visual communications.
Thank you, Michael. So in terms of our messaging and communications, I know Paco talked a lot about graphics and installations and wall graphics. You know, the idea is about creating Instagrammable moments. I mean, we want to find that wall where I can take a selfie with my friends and I can show people where I'm at, and it automatically identifies where that location may be, right? I go back to timely communication and promotion. We talked about a calendar schedule, and Paco touched on it with the marketing team. Again, there needs to be better communication between marketing and the departments. It's a collaboration. It's not he said, she said, it's not I need it first, it's not this is more important. It's a collaboration. They need to meet well in advance so that they have enough time to be able to create something that is compelling, right? The other thing that we feel is important is realistic and honest messaging. Again, we talked about, you know, the fact that LC is a supportive environment. It's tailored to students' needs, and there's a lot of growth opportunities. One of the things that we definitely want to highlight is affordability, because that's what we learned, right? That's the #1 reason that they attend Laredo College. We want to highlight affordability and admissions efficiency. We want to leverage student testimonials. We want to hear them tell us their story, whether it be in continuing education or students that are in different stages of their life. And then, of course, highlight dual enrollment with middle school recruitment and colleges that accept credits. And then again, the proximity to Laredo College. It really is closer than you think. The other thing I'm going to touch on just really quick before I move on to the next slide is Paco talked about the merchandise. That was something that we had ongoing conversations about. We also learned, again, the demographic of some of the participants, again, very low income, and they shared with us. We had one young lady that actually got very emotional and said, you know, a lot of kids, when they go back to school, their parents buy them clothes. And she says, you know, I rarely have new clothes. So if I'm able to wear something that has my college on it, the more I have, the better, because now I have something to wear. And they're like, I'm even going to wear it on weekends, right? So they want more branded merchandise. That's important to them. When it comes to advertising placement, right, so we talked about our messaging recommendations, our graphic recommendations. Now, these are the different vehicles. And we have 3 major ones. The #1 is increasing digital placement. Now, when we think about digital, digital isn't just social media. The #1 and most effective is paid search, right? So the minute that we Google something, and I use Google because 90-something% of us use Google as the top search engine, It's targeted display advertising. It's in-app advertising. So everybody has their mobile devices, and there's an algorithm that's going to be picked up if you're Googling something, right? If you're at your desktop or on your laptop or on your iPad, and all of a sudden, as you're going through one of your apps, you start seeing these messages delivered to you because it picked up your algorithm, right? And so we definitely want to increase that. And then important use of OTT and CTV. OTT is other than TV. It's not traditional broadcast. And CTV are the kind of messages you see, for example, if you have a Samsung television that already comes with channels that are loaded in there. That's CTV. So OTT is other than television, which is something like Hulu, for example. So the majority of our participants and the students, they're using, not a lot of people have paid cable anymore. And so they're watching shows when they want to watch them. Long are the times where if you wanted to watch a show on a Wednesday at 7, you had to watch it or wait a year for reruns now. Well, now you don't have to do that anymore. You can watch the show or the entire season of a show in one night from 12 midnight to 6 a.m. the next morning, right? And so they're using Hulu. If you're not paying a Hulu subscription with no ads, well, then you won't get ads. But the majority of our participants, we're not paying for that. So guess what? We have an opportunity to reach them through apps like Hulu, through other than TV, right? So we're delivering the message to them when they want to see it, not when they don't want to. We talked about YouTube, right? So YouTube is excellent, and we got to be using YouTube. Google owns YouTube, so what does that do for us, right? Obviously, it does a lot. And what happens with your socials, eventually socials move down the line. So, if you're not engaging with a social media channel, your post is eventually going to just disappear. It's going to go away. Guess what happens with YouTube? And it can be a good thing or a bad thing. Good thing for us, if it's good messaging, it will live there forever. It will never, ever go away. So if the college doesn't already have a YouTube channel, that should be the first priority. We need to have a YouTube channel. All of our messaging should be on that YouTube channel. Daniela mentioned, we've got all these kids. They're searching for free video content. And guess what happens before that video loads? Here comes an ad, And again, we want to be creative and innovative. Hey, we know you're chilling on a Saturday night. Make us part of your Saturday. Remember LC, whatever it is. But just creative, compelling messaging, right? So that's very important. And then we want to improve our social media channels, right? Are we using them adequately enough? Facebook is not king. Facebook is important, but there's other social media channels that are important as well, and they all need to be utilized differently. Enhance out-of-home placement. So, we learned that they definitely are seeing the out-of-home advertising, the billboards, the bus advertising. They want to see more of it. They want to see inclusive and innovative campaigns in the creative. And it's got to be the right message for the right audience. And I think Paco touched on that. We see a lot of institutional advertisement in terms of recruitment, but it's one message, enroll now, right? We want to see something that's a little more innovative, a message that's going directly targeted to the person that we want to speak to the person. We want to make it relatable. And then traditional placement. It's still important. I included radio there because it surprised me how many students said they had heard it on the radio. And one of the reasons for it is that these students don't have the income to pay for streaming radio. And so they're listening to radio because that's what exists. Now, it's not the top. There was students that mentioned it. That doesn't mean that we're going to go spend all of our dollars on radio. There's got to be a really good balance. Same thing with broadcast placement. The majority of the students and the majority of the participants that we talk to, they haven't turned the TV on in months. Sometimes years, right? And so if we're running an ad, on a network, right, is that even feasible? I think it's good for the community, right? The community sees it, and it's important in that regard, but we can just as easily be reaching our target by utilizing OTT and CTV much more cost effectively, and then take a lot of that other money and put it somewhere else, right? And so while we're not doing away with it altogether, there just needs to be a balance. And then inclusive and creative messaging. Again, the DE&I, we hear it over and over again, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I'm just not talking about race. I'm talking about disabilities, LGBTQ. Are we addressing all of that in our messaging? Because that's who our target is. They make up all different colors and shapes. And so that's important. And again, strengthening our brand presence. We want to be targeted in the way that we place our advertising. We've got to have compelling creative. Again, we got to be inclusive, diversity, equity, and inclusion. The audience relevant messages are so important. Are we communicating to them? We mentioned the bilingual. We had students that actually just graduated that came from Nuevo Laredo that said, I can't remember the last time I saw an ad in Spanish. And she says, and I'm involved, I'm part of this group and this organization, right? We've got to have thumb-stopping creative content. The majority of us are getting messages delivered on our smartphones. And what do? We're just, scrolling and scrolling. What's going to make us, stop and look at something? It's got to be compelling. And then the Palomino visibility. Can the Palomino mascot be improved? Absolutely. Can we make him look fierce and fun and exciting? Absolutely. And we definitely want to use that Palomino a lot more in everything that we do. And so finally, to kind of close off our presentation, one of the things we did, and we probably came up with, I don't know, probably over 100 words, but we only picked, some of the top ones. Every time we do a SWOT analysis, we try to come up with adjectives that make up the personality of the brand. And in this case, the brand is Laredo College. And so we came up with what we call our personality traits. And these are just some of the ones that we came up with. And so as we're developing a campaign and Paco's creating a concept, he uses these words, and we work together as a team during our creative briefs that he mentioned to brainstorm and say, how can we create that compelling story utilizing some of these words? And so some of the words that came up, you'll see affordable right in the middle, beneficial learning community. Laredo College is transformative. Laredo College is my home. It's my third space. There's a sense of legacy. There's integrity. It's comfortable. There's success. There's something for all. There's change. There's spirit. So these are just some of the words and the personality traits that all of our participants helped us come up with, and we definitely wanted to share that with you. And so with that, this concludes our presentation regarding everything that we were able to derive from our research. And again, I just want to reiterate that, our recommendations, at the end of the day, are not necessarily based on opinions. They are subjective, and our goal is to quantify the work based on the facts and results of our research projects, not necessarily the opinions of what you heard earlier. It's based on qualitative research, and it did take, several months. And aside from that, we've been working on developing a campaign, right, which we hope to present very soon. I think we're just about there, and we're very excited to show you as a result of the research. So we do have the entire presentation, which we'll distribute to everyone. You can take it home and read it all. There's a lot of good information there. But I'll open it up for any questions or comments.
Questions, comments? Okay.
Yes.
Recognize
Your
Mrs.
microphone,
Vela.
please. Your microphone.
This is extremely interesting. It's amazing, the work that you put in and what we found out,
Yes.
and this is, now we just need to implement.
Correct. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Ms. Elizondo.
Good morning. Well,
Good morning.
Thank you so much for everything.
Your mic,
y'all
ma'am.
do.
We are recording.
Thank you for everything that y'all do. It's very, very interesting. I just have a question. Were these meetings performed in an office, or where did you all actually interview students and staff? And
So we did it in our conference room at our agency, which we're at 901 Victoria. And so, yes, we had it in our office space.
And the reason why I ask is because I think it's extremely important. Throughout the presentation, you all talk about campus vibrancy and student life, and I think that as a marketing director, it's important to know and understand what we're promoting, in the sense of, I would have thought that it would be important, like, interview students. Do you guys went to the cafeteria, or being in their actual environment? We could promote a college and invest millions and millions of dollars in marketing, but we need to be at that level, and we need to focus on increasing enrollment, being able to offer those spaces, and for students to feel at home. I did take a picture of some of the words that you all refer to, a third space. I think as with administration, we need to make sure that we are that third space, that students want to stay here, because we could promote and have visibility, and that might help in terms of increasing, but we need to make sure that we are able to retain those students. So I think that it's a collateral effort from administration to offer that home and that diamond to our students, to show them who we are. Are we doing enough to make them feel comfortable, to make them? I remember when I was a student, I didn't want to go home. Like, I love being on campus because it gave me that. I love eating in the cafeteria. I love taking pictures with my, well, I like, we didn't have Instagram back then. But it was just like
But
a
you still took
sense of-
pictures.
of yeah, of sense of like feeling like I want to be part of Laredo College. I want to be part of Tammy Youth as well. So I think we need to create that, and I think it's important that as we promote the college, that we walk hand in hand to be able to deliver, and most importantly, to retain our students.
And I totally agree, and I think that, you know, everything you said is what we discovered, right? The one thing, and you know, we talk about this a lot, we have a client that we represent, and it's a charter school. It's a public charter school that has schools all over the state of Texas, and we run into a lot of the same challenges that public schools do and that even colleges and universities run into. Is, you know, they do really well when it comes to recruitment, but they fail when it comes to retention. And so those are two totally different campaigns, right? And so it's important that we recognize that and also develop that plan for retention. Our participants are already telling us, you know, they want to stay, but this is kind of what they want, right? And so remember, it's not so much their wants and needs, it's their desires, as we mentioned in the presentation. So.
Chair recognizes Mr. Rangel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No charter schools, sir. ISDs. Joking. I've known Paco and AB for a couple years now, and their work is impeccable and just shows right now. AB, going to the comment that Ms. Elizondo said, how did you narrow what staff, what students were going to be asked these types of questions? How did you come up with that?
So in regards of the SWOT, we asked Dr. Ramirez to recommend the administrators that were going to be part of that SWOT analysis, and I think we had about 15 or 16. And then in terms of the students, we were given a list of students that had been registered here, some that had already graduated, and we reached out to dozens of them. That was a little challenging because not everybody was wanting to participate. And so, you know, we send them emails, we called them, we communicated with them, and then we just got the amount that we needed to complete at least those 6 sessions.
And what was that amount?
It was 6 sessions with 6 to 8 students each, or participants each, for the focus groups, which the standard in the industry is usually 3 to 4 focus groups. And, you know, in focus groups, you never want to have a ton of people. You want to have maybe between 4 and 6, no more than 6. I've been on some focus groups where you have 10 and 12, and it just makes it a little more difficult because you have a short period of time and not everybody gets to express their opinion because there's so many people.
And they're in a group, correct?
It's one group, yes.
And how was the interaction within the group?
It was great. You know, there were some people that maybe didn't know some of the other students, but the interaction was really good in terms of if one participant mentioned something, there would be somebody that would say, "Oh, you're right," you know, and then they would elaborate, right? So that there was more collaboration in those conversations. You had some of the participants, you know, I keep talking, and I mentioned this to Dr. Ramirez, that were coming from a low income, that we made them feel very comfortable. So, you know, we had refreshments for them, we had, you know, coffee and juice and soft drinks and candy and snacks, and it was almost like very rewarding for them. They were like, that helped them relax a little more, to where we even said, you know what, eat breakfast first and then we'll get started, right? And they were very impressed with the fact that we were offering breakfast, and they you know, we put them in an environment that they could feel comfortable, and so that was very effective.
And on that note, like, whenever you were doing your sessions, were they like was it all, like, let's say, all administration, all students, or was it a mixture of each?
For the focus groups, we didn't utilize administration. It was all, you know, either students.
It was all students.
Yes. So there were 2 totally separate research projects.
Okay.
The SWOT was just the administration, and then the focus groups were just the students.
It's very interesting that the kids, or not the kids, the students, they kind of want to see the Palomino more.
Yes.
I know.
And it's really interesting. You kind of see it within colleges that they promote a lot their mascot. So it would be interesting how we can implement, I don't know, have like a TikTok account just for the Palomino,
Yeah.
you know, and have him do crazy, I mean, I don't mean it in a bad way, like crazy things, but just funny things that people would, because I mean, I'm going to, like, whenever we're actually in TikTok or whenever we're on social media, the more people see it, the more it kind of like, pops up. So it would be interesting to be able to see how we implement that, to being able to, not just in campus, but also in the community, at the mall, at the camp, at the school districts, putting them out there and just see how we could be able to do that. It would be interesting what we could be able to do. My last question is, and Paco mentioned it, that you have 2 seconds to be able to capture, the audience. Do you have an idea of what you would want to be those 2 seconds, both on an image and on just a saying? Like, for example, for us at Laredo ISD is, Laredo ISD is the place to be, right? So it's just simple to the point, you get it. So do you have like an idea, like of what you would, maybe I'm putting you on the spot because maybe this is what we need to be able to come up with something, but like, do you have an idea of what's gonna be the 2-second image or the 2-second saying?
Yeah, we've already been sketching and developing a concept. The hard part about it is, again, in 2 seconds, we have to be 2 seconds for everybody, every demographic.
Of course.
So it becomes hard, right? So with these 2 seconds or this campaign, this concept that we're going to develop, it has to be expandable. It has to swell up and it has to come down. It has to be very fluid. That way you can adapt to certain situations, but it still means the same thing in 2 seconds. But if there's an event or there's continuing ed or it's an 18-year-old or we're recruiting a high school student or a 40-year-old, it's still part. It's in 2 seconds. It's still the same, not the same message. It's still the same concept. But we have to be now more sensitive to each group. Going back to your comments that you were saying about third space, that's really important. And we took that into effect about how that's a very sensitive issue, for a lot of students. This is their place that they come here to relax because they go home. They don't have the space. They're sharing a room. The kitchen's too loud. They can't study. So they come here to relax, to disconnect. And so that has to be addressed. And we're addressing that too. So we have to be clever enough to address a lot of issues. Addressing the Palomino. You just said it. Oh, can we put the Palomino here? Can we throw them in there? Yes, we can. But first of all, we need to find what is the purpose of the Palomino. What do we want the Palomino to be? So we have to write a story for the Palomino, because if we just put the Palomino everywhere, he just becomes everything to everyone, but with no meaning. So if the Palomino's we're gonna take advantage of the Palomino mascot, then let's have a purpose for it all the time. It's the same duty. It's like a police officer. They have certain duties, and they're not gonna go put up fires. They're not gonna go, they have a certain duty. So a police officer becomes a police officer because they've already been assigned to that. And so it takes planning. It takes some creative development, and then you create that blueprint, and now you can start rolling it out. But it is very interesting. I mean, the comments that you just said were very important. I mean, they were almost emotional because they did. Some of the students got very emotional about how this is an opportunity they're getting, and they're the first generation, and it's important for them. And so we need to communicate that at the same time. So, and going back to your question, it's like we can promote it as much as we can, and we don't have the space. What do we do? Well, we have to ask the question of what comes first, the chicken or the egg. It's like, so we have to do both at the same time. And it's all a bunch of different efforts that collate together as one.
Madam Chair?
Chair recognizes, you done?
Yes, thank you.
Chair recognizes Judge Martinez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to compliment you on this obviously very comprehensive survey that you actually have done. Any idea approximately the total number of individuals that were involved in our community? Do you have any idea as to the number of people that?
Participants in the focus group?
Yes,
I guess we can say about 50 some people,
55, I think.
like 55.
That's a good number.
And then not only we did focus groups, but we participated in the strategic planning sessions that Dr. Martinez was having with, what's the name of the professor from San Antonio?
Dr. Debbie Gaitan.
Dr. Debbie Gaitan.
Yeah.
And I even, Dr. Gaitan and myself were having a conversation over, I don't know, it was, what do you call it, video conferencing. But that was very interesting. I mean, we took part of that. We met with Dr. Hernandez too and talked about his department. So we dissected his department. So apart from the focus groups and the SWAT that we met with administrators, we went to certain departments. We did go to the Cason Center, walked around, so we did kind of injected ourselves to the campus. So it's about 55 people, but then there was more participants with other sessions that we were invited, that we wanted to be part of. Because the more we know, it's almost kind of a partnership. The more we know about you guys, the more character.
Right.
We're the interpreters. Remember, we're the ones that are gonna bring this to life. So the more we know about the Laredo College, the more we can adapt.
Chair recognizes Mrs. Garcia.
Your microphone, please.
At the end of the day, I think what Ms. Elizondo said is valid, but I think that the reason that you're here, the reason that you're helping us is because of enrollment and retention. Like everything you're doing for us, the strategies that you are presenting us with is to increase our enrollment,
That's right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Is to retain our students.
And our image.
Is to make Laredo College the place to be,
That's right.
So that's the reason we're here, right? So going back to what Ms. Elizondo said, and I understand, and of course, yes, we can just put out lots of information, but it's not the quantity, it's the quality of
Correct.
it.
Correct.
So
The target.
the target.
Correct. You're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
I made a comment earlier that we can spend $500,000 on advertising and buying space. If there's no strong message, if there's no concept behind
That's
it,
right.
we're just putting $500,000 out there.
That's right.
Probably about 40% of that is gonna get blurred out because it's just so repetitive.
Right.
If we develop a good concept and have good, strong messages that really, there's an emotion, that some people connect to it, we can probably spend $300,000 and make a bigger impact because there was some thought behind it.
Right.
And I think also this is when I went from high school to college, I went to UT. It's tradition, like A&M and those colleges. You step on that campus and you feel that way. This campus has a lot of history.
That's right.
You
Yes.
know, this
That's right.
this campus was the first college that Laredo had.
Mm-hmm.
We really can build. I mean, honestly, most Laredoans that have gone, because I did come to school concurrently here from J.W. Nixon, because we didn't have dual enrollment at that time. So I did come concurrently. By the time I left Laredo College, I left with like 36 hours. So I became a sophomore at the University of Texas, okay? Those are, I think that not only do we have to put it out to our community, like you said, it needs to be sent out
That's right.
Correct.
to,
That's
to
right.
Mexico or to wherever our people are,
Absolutely.
I think that's really important as well. And I think that we're taking the right steps
That's right.
to do that. So I commend you all. I commend Dr. Ramirez and our people and our administrative staff and our students in wanting to do something like that for us.
Absolutely.
Chair recognizes Ms. Elizondo and then Ms. Liendo and then Ms. Vela.
Just for clarification, by no means I meant to say we do not need this. My point was to reiterate, like you mentioned, like to add meaning, to have a story behind it, to understand, right? To understand who we are and what we have to offer and where do we want to be. And I think that in order for us to increase the vibrancy in student life, it needs to be, and that was my whole point, it needs to be a collateral effort.
Correct.
With administration, the board, and everyone who is part of Laredo College outside the student body, because we are here to give them the best that we have, and it is, it can be done. Like, it can be done, and with you guys have done an amazing job, and seeing this information on paper has been very eye-opening.
I'm sorry, can I add real quick to that?
Sure.
Thank you. But I think that
Your microphone, please.
Ms. Elizondo, I think that with that, yes, because of our community. You know what I'm saying? Like, in other words, yes, it's not, the board, we make those decisions at the end of the day, right? But the reason that we make those decisions and the are for the people that we serve.
That's right.
Right? And we serve everybody. We serve not only our city, but we serve our county, and we serve everybody that comes to this to this college. Okay? So at the end of the day, I lost my train of thought. But at the end of the day, yes, we do make the decisions, and we, you know, us as a group, and them as a staff and stuff. But we do it at the end of the day for this college, period. Right? I lost my train.
Ms. Liendo? Ms. Liendo?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I would like to thank our marketing team, the staff that we have here at Laredo College. I think they have been doing an exceptional job. Everywhere that I go, I see Laredo College. But of course, I'm on the board, so it stands out to me. I recognize it everywhere I go, which isn't going to be the same for everybody else in our community. And I recognize the need for the research that PMDG has done, because I think it's important for us to learn where we can do better. We can always do better.
Right.
And so I'm very excited about the information that you have brought us, and to see how our marketing team can use that information along with your help to grow and to get our information out there. I do see that some of the things that have come up are things that your agency is not going to be able to help us with. Your job is to get our message out there, to get the students to come in, but then it's going to be up to a different team to actually make the changes that are needed in the spaces that we have to produce for our students, in the environment that we have to produce for our students. Your job is going to be to get them here, to learn that we're available and what we have to offer. And so I'm very excited about that. I just wanted to say, the Palomino, I didn't even know, I mean, I know the Palomino is our mascot, but I didn't know that we had an actual Palomino that could attend.
A mono.
Oh, yeah, the mono.
So I've seen him around lately on the, on the different advertisings that we've had. And so I was excited to see him, and I think it's great. So I'm excited to see more of him, and to see how we can improve. And I just want to say thank you for doing the research and helping us to be able to better serve our community. And of course, to our marketing team, I think you all are doing an amazing job. So thank you all.
Mrs. Vela?
You know, I want to go back to the page before these questions, all the words that you had. You know, a lot of the words tie in together, you know,
Yes.
like I think Ms. Elizondo said the third space, but it goes back to family, it goes back to trust, it goes, you know, look at support, all of those words tie in together. And it's, what we're trying to do is make a home for them,
Correct.
Right.
a comfortable home where they feel comfortable and want to come back and stay.
Correct.
So,
A lot of the findings, and this is almost kind of like the pieces that
right.
you find. Now our job is to put it together, because
That's-
this is already a stepping stone, a positive stepping stone to start finding our direction and how to really target that. Without this, we could be doing it every year, and just, shooting in the dark, at a target and hoping that we can hit it. Now we can see the target. Now we can
Now
start
you can
aiming.
see.
Are we gonna aim in the center? That's our goal. Do we hit it in the center? It might not. It's like you said, Ms. Endo, it's like, now it's gonna take collaboration between
Between the
every
few.
party. You know, our job is to really create tools and creative tools, fun tools for you guys to grab and start putting it out there. We can get you a line of people, like I tell all my clients, I can create a line of customers in front of your door, but if your door is locked,
That's right.
there's nothing I can do. If the door is open and you don't have enough food to serve or drink or whatever it might be, then I cannot help you there, you know. But you guys are a great team. I mean, there's all the resources are there. You know, there's tradition. I mean, we're talking about tradition, about I mean, my favorite
Yes,
place
sir.
when I used to come here in the summer for summer school was to hang out at the Kaizen. And I was
That's
like,
right.
hey, let's go, you know, because it was fun. You know, go to class, but then you stay there for another 3 hours.
That's right.
You know, until the lady would pass by with a broom and it's like, you know, like, you need to leave.
That's true.
But you're 21. That's the life that you have. You don't worry about bills. You don't worry about anything. So we need to wear their
Our
shoes
students too.
in order for us to talk their language. Not only not only the 21-year-olds, but the 35-year-old, the 40-year-old, the 50-year-old, the 60-year-old, because we have those opportunities for everybody, and that's what we discovered. So now we see the road. Now it's time to create the vehicle and drive through the road.
Chair recognizes Mrs. Garcia.
Okay, the vehicle, and another thing
Your
is,
mic,
like,
ma'am.
looking at all of this, you know, and not only is the vehicle for our potential students, right, for our enrollment and our retention, but it's also for our community to say, because it's very important that our community wants to hire our kids.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Okay, that's probably the most important, because the reason that they're here is to learn how to earn a living,
Correct.
right? To be able to support themselves and their family. So it's just as important, the vehicle that we're gonna have, for our partners and for our community. To say, like in those 2 seconds, wow, you know what, this is going on at Laredo College. Let me call Dr. Ramirez, or let me call somebody here and let me find out, you know, do they have these kinds of workers available? What kind of degrees are they getting? What are they doing? And how can we help as well?
Correct.
So I think that message is also just as important in this whole vehicle,
Correct.
you know, on that vehicle.
Yes. And there's a lot of different ways, a lot of different approaches to create that pride. Not only, even if you're a student or not a student, just create pride of Laredo College. Because first of all, Laredo College has the Laredo name
Right.
as a city.
Right.
It's ours. It's ours. It's run by us. We pay, and it's paid by us. It's for us, you know, and that's what we need to be very proud. And so that becomes another strategy. That becomes now, what strategy do we implement when we do public relations?
Sure.
You know, we are doing recruitment over here, the fun stuff, the energetic stuff, the really, really fun stuff. But then now we need to start saying another story at the same time that when you see them together, you know they're related. But it's public relations. What do we do in public relations? How are we communicating to
Yeah.
their community to be more proud? Not only for the student, but for businesses, for the private sector, for the Chamber of Commerce, for anybody that when they talk about Laredo College, they
And it is
mention
like
the sense
peeling
of
the
pride.
onion,
Yes,
That is.
because it's all the different layers. It's
That's right.
from,
Absolutely.
from our layer, and I know my parents came to, you know what I mean,
Yes.
to Laredo College before they went to college or whatever. And so it is peeling. It is peeling the onion in all, you know, in all its ways,
absolutely.
touching everybody in a certain way.
I mean, I could already sense the pride that we all have. I mean,
Yes.
we're all talking with a sense of we need to move forward. We need to bring Laredo College or take it to the next level for the next generation. I mean, I can already sense it. I mean, getting goosebumps because I'm a very proud Laredoan. I've dedicated a lot of my time in nonprofits, and all my life I've been doing it. And when I see groups of people like you guys and the audience, it's good because if we don't toot our own horn, no one else will. You know, we do a lot of work in the Valley and South Texas. What is it? Texas, the colleges in the Valley.
South Texas College.
So, and I mean, man, they're all over. They're all over, and I'm like, we
And
need
they're
to be the
invading our
same.
town.
I mean, UTRGV, billboards here. You know, it's like, how come we're not there? You know, because we can offer the same or even better. But it takes, you know, it takes planning. It's like,
right.
who do we want to be? Do we want to be more than Jim Hogg, Webb County, and Zapata? We probably can, but it takes steps.
Chair recognizes Mrs. Ramos.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate all the work that you all did, but I do want to thank Dr. Ramirez for being, having foresight. But we visited this road before, like about maybe 5 or 6 years before, and we grew the marketing department. That was the first step, and we knew it was going to be a lot of money. So we just need to, as a board, we need to understand that this doesn't happen overnight, right? And that it takes time. The marketing department has grown from maybe 3 people to more people that have been added, and they've been working really hard to promote the college the best way that they understand to be within the scope of the school. You know, you talked about the kids mentioning about the buildings, the outdated campuses. That's, you know, that's a work in progress. 2014 was the beginning of the first part of the bond that we had, and we need to look at that too. Like, we need to look at our history, what we've done, and how far we've come in the years that we've come. So we can work the story through it, right?
Sure.
We can't say, okay, tomorrow we're gonna invest so-and-so, because you mentioned right now, we can invest $3 million, let's say, and just pour it down, but if we don't do it strategically and transformatively, then we're not gonna get anywhere. You know, we could be running in circles, back and forth. And those students that you interviewed and the administration that you interviewed, you know, they're giving you their perspective, right? Now, we need to go out into the community and ask the community members who've never heard of LC, or go talk to the dual enrollment kids, because those kids, they don't get a chance to ever come to the campus unless we open the doors to them during the summer, right? So they know that they're getting their education from here, but they don't understand the whole entire concept of how much money they're saving, you know, by taking the classes, by being, you know, there's a little bit of confusion as far as the dual enrollment and the pathways. But that's something geared towards the administrative department. But, you know, we can be progressive, we can be transformative, and our board needs to also be transformative and progressive too, right? And so we just need to also recognize that we cannot just pour in tons of money right now. We need to make sure that we are strategic about it, and that we find out where the goal is. And the goal doesn't necessarily have to be retention and increase in enrollment. It could be just sustainability, right? Having our students be proud, having our employees continue to be proud to work here. All of that put together make up that third space that you talked about, but also make it a united community, change everything all together, putting together, this is who we are, right? So I do appreciate, I wrote down a lot of notes, even though you're gonna give me, but this is how I internalize.
I think we all did, right?
Yeah, that's how I internalize, and I wrote it down, even though you're going to give me a whole packet. But I wrote about the different things, you know, like, I was very impressed that you talked about our audiences, that you talked about who we are, the affordability, the smart choices. But I am sad to hear that South Campus lacks a little bit of vibrancy, you know? But I could have told you that, you know, like, the first day that I went there as a trustee, I saw it, I was like, oh, wait a minute. The other thing that I was gonna ask, did you do a mystery student, like a mystery shopper?
So a couple of things to address your comments. In terms of going out into the community, that's a totally different type of research study, right? That's an intercept study, which we were not engaged to do that, right? But that's definitely something that we can do and that we've done many times in the past. In terms of the mystery student, no, again, that's a very different type, right, of program. but something that we can definitely do. But just to touch on a couple of things in terms of the timeline, and you're right, it needs to be a very strategic, transformative process, and that's the reason that I think Dr. Ramirez brought us on board, right, is to develop help develop a strategic plan for the marketing and branding component of the college, right? Now that we have information, now we can start creating that direction that we need to go in. But it definitely is going to be in phases, and it's a timeline, right? Budget allowing, right? Like with anything. So that's important to address. When you talk about the South Campus, I just want to also mention that, that came up several times. And I think one of the things that also came up was that we even forget that there is a South Campus. A lot of emphasis is placed on Laredo College because this is where it all began, right? And it's got the history, it's got downtown, but there's opportunities, right, to be able to promote the South Campus, have events at the South Campus. I know proximity sometimes becomes an issue. I sit on the board of directors of the Laredo Chamber. We've been invited several times, and the first thing that our board does is they look at each other, oh, that's so far. And it really isn't that far, right? And so we just need to, again, in our communication, right, remind them about the proximity. A short drive in beautiful South Laredo, and get people excited about going and seeing that campus. I don't think a lot of people have seen it. Yes, it's a little institutional. I think one of the participants described it as a hospital. And they said, it doesn't give us the excitement of here, we're arriving. We just want to get out of there. And so those are things that can be addressed, right?
And I thank you. I mean, it was a lot of work. And I think looking overall, like, we have to be up here looking to see how it all works, right? And how it all ties in together. But I think that all of us being on the same page will help us get to where we need to get. And our goal cannot always be like one. It has to be like versatile, because there's going to be a lot of goals, right? So, but I do appreciate that you brought us together. The other thing last thing, I was going to mention is getting here and getting to South Laredo, right, to the different places. It's hard. Like, I had a really hard time today. No communication as far as like what's happening in the community. Like, had no idea, But even South Laredo is gotten to be so, the traffic is terrible. We need to come up with ideas of how we can get that, because no matter where you go, it takes you at least 30 minutes. Now it's getting to 45 minutes. So, like a big city, but, we're closer than you think, like you said. Yes.
Correct.
Madam Chair?
Chair recognizes Ms. Dr. Ramirez.
I know that it's been a long morning for a lot of us, and I want to thank PMDG for the work that they've done for us, and to all of you for coming on a Saturday morning to really hear this out. But I think the timing was perfect, because you all are strongly aware about, we're working on our strategic plan. We'll unveil our strategic plan in the next 25 to 30 days. We've started the master planning process that will incorporate some of this information that we're going to share with the company that's working on our master plan that was approved by you all. We are, our marketing team, our PR team, all of them work together. Our development team, they all work together to continuously work through some of these issues that come up. But they need help. And it's not always easy to just throw more people at an issue, right? The idea is, how do we become more strategic? How do we align what we're doing in our academic programming, in our workforce programming, in our student life programming, in our recruitment process? And how do we align all of those things to support the ever-growing community that we live in? Whether it's the infrastructure or the economy, whether it's the bridge being built or the transportation programming, whatever it is, our allied health programs are really and truly supporting the growth and need of the sick people of our community. And so how do we sell that story? How do we talk about who we are? And Paco's absolutely right. I mean, we decide, you know what, we need to do something, so let's plan something for next week, so órale. And so then, Mr. Limon, make something today. Well, you don't do that. It's hard to do that. And we put them in a position sometimes, like he said, against the wall to come up with something super great. Well, you're giving me 30 minutes.
Yeah.
How do you sit down and creatively do a storyboard in 30 minutes? You can't. How do you find the right student to tell the story that we want to tell or that they want to tell? Our students want to tell their stories. That's why social media is so exciting, because they want to tell. They want to talk about their experiences and who they are and what's happening to them. We need to be creative about how we do that. How we help our staff is through these opportunities, through getting this research, to possibly coming up with a campaign. I don't know that there is the one campaign, and I think there might be, the one campaign that really attacks all of and supports all of the things that we're doing. But how do we then take that one overarching campaign and customize it, like Ms. Elizondo says, to the different people, to support what Ms. Garcia says, to support the different entities that we help? How do we take that umbrella campaign and make it adaptable to all the departments, to all of the functions, to all of the people, and at the same time support the community? Because Laredo's not only in our name, it's in our website. It's our URL. It's our email. It's wearelaredo.edu. We are the first line of education for everyone, whether they're in the dual credit program, whether they're in our baby palominos, or they're in coming to school here to learn a trade or reskill or whatever it is. We are the heart of the future of Laredo. And it is through the work that we're doing every single day, that all these people are doing every single day, that we're getting that done. How do we tell the story of the hard work that everybody in this room and everybody on these two campuses are doing every single day? That's what we're gonna do. But it's gonna take us time. We've gotta align all these things. We've gotta put all the pieces together. And it is through the support of this board, through all of you and your vision and your help, that we can do that. It is expensive and we don't have the money, but we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna have to figure it out. And when we do, it will mean something to each of you, as it will to each of them, as it will to all of our students, current, former, and prospective. And so thank you all for making the time to come and hear this, because it is really, really important to the future of Laredo College, and to support the work that we're doing now and that has been done over the course of the year in years past. So thank you all very much. I do have a few announcements, Madam Chair, when we get to announcements.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Chair recognizes Ms. Elizondo.
Just to echo on Dr. Ramirez's word, I want to recognize the entire marketing team. I have seen the presence. I see it on Instagram. I get a lot of comments. I see a lot of people sharing the post. So I just want to highlight that. And I know you all have also gotten a lot of recognitions as a team. So I want to recognize Obed Guerrero, Ricardo Limon, Joana Santillana, Cristian Ocampo, Mayra Garza, Diana Hinojosa, Juan Flores, and last but not least, Mr. Ruben Villarreal. Gracias, muchas gracias y felicidades por todo lo que están haciendo para el colegio. De corazón, gracias.
Thank you. And Mr. Cesar Vela, you have some homework for us? Dr. Ramirez just said we need money, so. AB and Paco, thank you very much for all your work. It was very informative, very interesting. And Ms. Velasco and your team, I know you all worked very hard for us, but we really appreciate it, and you're giving us homework as you're passing out the information.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Diana, for your team, I know you're the manager or you're the vice president of marketing. Thank you for everything that you and your team does as well, and everybody else that's here today. Thank you for taking the time to be here with us. On that note, I'll go ahead and pass it to Dr. Ramirez.
Yes, ma'am. So just wanted to announce today, in our efforts, in spite of not having all of these plans that we're working on finished, I do want to let you know that this week, we released our financial aid. So $6 million was released into our community through our financial aid efforts. And so in spite of all of the issues that the U.S. Department of Education had with the FAFSA, we were still able to, at this point, we're still, there's another release date, pardon me. There's another release date coming up, but the first, it's about a little over $6 million that was released and will be infused into our community. So that's one. And through a lot of work from a lot of people, we crossed the 11,000 enrollment threshold this week. So, congratulations to everybody. We actually hit the 11,002. So we crossed it. We have not seen these kinds of numbers probably in, I don't know, 15 years. So, in spite of the public, the media rhetoric, not you all, but the media rhetoric nationally that people aren't going to college, that's not true. They are. And I think we have some incredible folks doing some incredible work here that we can all be very proud of. And so I wanted to share the good news with you all today. So thank you all again for your support and always being ever present in everything that we do.
Thank you, Dr. Ramirez. With that, the next item is next meeting date is Thursday, September 26, 2024 at 6 p.m. That's our regular monthly Board of Trustees meeting. Dr. Ramirez just gave us announcements. Anybody else have any other announcements? Chair recognizes
This is terrible, but
Mrs. Vela.
I noticed that Halloween is on the last Thursday of the month. So I
That's
don't know
why
if
we
you
moved
wanna
the meeting
change-
to the 26th.
Okay,
We
good.
moved it. Don't worry, we're not gonna have you
Was
here
I mean,
Halloween night.
I know you're gonna give out candy.
And just one more announcement, if I may, Madam Chair. Our Fall Fest is October the 12th at the South Campus. And by the way, it is our 20th anniversary of the South Campus, so we will be celebrating that day as well for the 20th anniversary of the South Campus. But it's October 12th.
Oh, I'm sorry.
12th is Fall Fest at the South Campus.
Okay.
And it's the 20th
Any
anniversary.
any other announcements?
Trick or treat,
Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn? So I have a motion by Mr. Rangel, a second by Mr. Delgado. Any discussion? Not heard? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend.